and welcome everyone to Daifuku's Raising the Roof webinar. We understand and appreciate organizations today are facing unique challenges. Some of the challenges that we're all currently facing within North America is experiencing some of the shrinkage in the labor force, smaller land parcel availability, and increased facility costs. These are all challenges that we've been helping solve in Asia and other parts of the world for decades. Just as a point of reference, Daifuku has been deploying and installing ASRS systems since as far back as 1965. So we thank you for joining today. We look forward to sharing, some of our experience and ultimately helping you to achieve your desired outcome in whatever project that you might have in front of you. Just a quick note that as we do go through the discussion today, we welcome you posting questions in the Q&A, and we are recording the webinar so that you can review it at a later time at your convenience. With that being said, I'd like to take just a quick minute and introduce our team that's on the phone with us today. So we have Jeff Holmes, who is a Senior Vice President of Solutions Engineering. We have Chris Graver, Manager of Design Engineering, Jason Griswold, Manager of Applications Engineering, and Jaime Townsend, Manager of Automation Execution. And my name is David Campbell, Senior Account Executive here at Daifuku. So as we look at some of the key drivers that I mentioned, I want to ask Jeff if he would mind to share some of his thoughts on what some of the key drivers are for automation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, David. As you kind of hinted at in your introduction, I mean, there are basically three key things that are driving more and more companies to automation. I think all of these factors have been kind of bubbling up for probably the last few decades, but just in the last few years, all of these have escalated even faster. So first we talk about people and the cost of labor. The available labor pool has shrunk, even magnified more during the COVID pandemic crisis that we all lived through. And on top of that, we've seen substantial wage growth. Beyond just the inflation that we've seen over the years here, and as companies try to adapt to that, they have to figure out how they can both find more labor, or find options for labor, and also deal with that increased wage growth. On top of that, land and prime locations, the best locations across the U.S. are starting to become just harder to get for our customers. Obviously, there's lots of land across the U.S., lots of unbuilt out land, but the prime locations are starting to fill up, so that land's getting more and more expensive. As well as that, we've seen a dramatic increase in building costs over the last few years. And then in general, general customer expectations as consumers have been led down the path of fast and or free delivery, and basically just that immediate gratification that everyone's looking for when they're ordering online. I think all of those things kind of have just led us and our customers down the path of pursuing more and more automation. Chris, I don't know if you can add some more detail to that.
Yeah, as Jeff and David pointed out, customers are facing a lot of pressure to reduce operating costs, as well as reduce footprint due to the escalating construction costs. And as Jeff pointed out, these wages will continue to grow rapidly in distribution due to the shrinking working age population and low unemployment rates. And in fact, what we're seeing is the 12-month moving average median wage growth is 6% year over year, and not expected to drop due to labor shortages. So if you couple that with 90% of the consumers expecting 2 to 3 days delivery now, we have to do everything faster with less labor. And how do we offset that? We do that with increased automation and companies are looking at technologies like ASRS, robotics, AMRs, AGVs, autonomous forklifts, conveyor technologies, and even other types of automation in general to remain competitive. As Jeff mentioned, increasing land costs plays real well, and customers are looking at all that pallet handling and the large footprints to reduce that with ASRS and going higher, raising the roof. David?
Yeah, appreciate that, Chris. And then, maybe, Chris, if you don't mind, just to kind of share with us a little bit about the information that drives us to the proper solution for our clients.
Yeah, sure. Traditionally, we collaborate with the customer, and early on in the process, we ask for a year's worth of order data, item master data, as well as growth data. And the key here is to look at the trends, both historically as well as in the future. And at the same time we're looking at this data, we work closely with the customer and to see how it's going to impact the overall performance of current and future operations. So it's really a master planning effort, and we're designing for the future. So as we're in this initial phase of the design process for automation, it's kind of a hybrid approach, and we're both looking at that historical data, future trends. We merge this all together with the analysis, getting together with applications that develop a solution or solutions that we will believe will make the customer more efficient in the future and meet their overall demands.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
And then as you'll see here that we have posted some information on unit load storage usage, and I want to ask Jason if he would share some insights with us on how we select the proper technology as we're looking at various applications.
Right. So as Chris was pointing out, the design is ultimately data driven, right? We want to make sure that the solution that's being proposed or provided lines up with the needs with everybody's needs. So as you can see here, what we're showing is that as you're trying to balance density, you really are looking at balancing density with your system throughput. So as you can see on the vertical axis, we've got storage volume, and on the horizontal axis, we've got system throughput. So you see that when you need really good storage volume and density, and you need little throughput, you might go with something like a multi-deep solution. If you've got kind of a balance of storage density needs and system throughput requirements, you might go with double deep. If you're more based on trying to get volume out with a little bit of storage density needs, you might go with a single deep unit load system. And if you really have high throughput requirements and density isn't the key driver, you might do something like using two cranes inside of an aisle so that you can have very quick and easy access to any of your product. And then up here on the far upper right, we see pallet shuttle systems, which is where you're really getting the most volume as far as storage and the most throughput as far as capability of retrieving multiple pallets very quickly. And so you're really looking at trying to balance out, the requirements for storage with the requirements for throughput with the costs of the system.
Thank you for that, Jason. And then as I'm thinking through what you're describing here, what temperature ranges are we able to accommodate with these types of technologies?
So we do everything from storing ice cream in a deep freezer down to -22 Fahrenheit, all the way up to storing products coming out of forges up in the 100-degree plus range.
Thank you, Jason. So that that tells me that we're basically able to offer a full product range here for all different types of environment. And I know that our cranes are developed in Japan, so even really, really high seismic areas can be accommodated as well, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, Jason. Jeff, as we kind of take the next step here and we think about the technologies, we talked about the data. Would you mind kind of talking us through some of the solutions that we've been able to provide our customers?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, David. This is just a few images here of a particular customer of ours, and we're sharing this one as we talked about how the data kind of drives us to different directions in certain scenarios. And this is an example of a building where we actually had part of the building where the goal was to increase the density, and part of the building we really were seeking that goal of reducing that footprint and raising the roof, going tall with the building. So what you can see in the bottom left of the screen, you'll see that bumped up portion in the center of the building. So that is that's where we had a 30-meter tall double deep unit load solution. So that's really the in this scenario, that is where the picking engine for this building starts and ends. So that's where you get full pallets coming in and out, and also servicing a mixed case picking and palletizing operation. To the north of that, in that image, we have a lower roof portion of the building that actually has a multi-deep ASRS. So in the top left, you'll see in the plan view, the double deep ASRS is what's shown in the middle of that drawing, and then on the right-hand side in the darker green, that's a multi-deep, double deep solution that essentially serves as the backstock or the reserve locations to replenish the main ASRS in the high bay. So we share this just as it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all solution. Sometimes, when we look at the customer's data, it leads us down a path where maybe there's multiple solutions. And again, this is not one-size-fits-all. We always are looking at what is the appropriate solution based on the needs of our customers.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, Jeff, is that we do deliver custom engineered solutions with proven products, right? So all the different technologies that you'll see here are proven products. It's basically how we analyze using the data and deliver the solution.
Exactly. And then I guess speaking of delivery and execution, Jaime, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about how we bring these systems live and some of the key. You want to jump back, David? I think while we're still looking at that previous slide, Jaime, you can speak to that.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. So our concern while we're looking at selecting or designing a building is not just about throughput. We also are focused on operability, right? How a user interacts with our machinery. And we want to make sure that any unnecessary touches are reduced, and we want to have an extremely simple process that is easy to understand, easy to describe, and easy to execute, whether you're, a first-time user to automation or someone who's a subject matter expert dealing with automation. And our focus also operability, it's also maintainability and reliability. And so sometimes you might be designing sites that are maybe going live in 2023, but it's not hitting its full volume until 2027, right? And so if we give you a solution that works for 1 year, we're not doing any justice if it starts falling apart, in year 2. And so we want to make sure it's really stable, that our recovery processes are really simplistic, that while we're doing recovery, it doesn't really take too much downtime. We want to make sure we are reducing mean time to recovery while increasing mean time between failures. And as far as stability goes, we understand that we're building these sites with you for long-term use, several years use, or even decades use. And you might have changing customer demands, that you'll have a site that needs to change with your demanding business. And so we offer a tester suite that allows you to test any changes and view even positive or even potentially negative changes, and how that will impact the site, both on a throughput level, on an operational level, and maybe even we'll help you test with the ERP system.
Thank you, Jaime.
Yeah.
One follow-up question, Jeff, for you is, as we look at these various solutions for our partners, Any kind of guidance or any kind of feedback that you can provide in general about, by going with an automated solution compared to a conventional, about how much square footage we might save, or some of those key metrics that we talked about earlier in the discussion?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it really, honestly, it varies by solution, by customer, by application, everything. But we've seen instances where we're able to reduce that footprint by 50%, maybe even more. I mean, as far as reducing labor, again, it depends on the solution, but you could easily see a reduction in labor in the 30+%, potentially, again, even more, depending on how automated we go. And if, we're talking mainly about unit load automation here, but there's a lot of other automation that we can apply that would, reduce labor potentially even further with AGVs, robotics, et cetera. That again are things that we can apply if the problem that we're trying to solve justifies those types of applications.
Thank you for that, Jeff. Just kind of as we summarize here, here's some of the top 5 key takeaways. And Chris, I just wanted to ask you if you wouldn't mind starting out and thinking about, the fact that one size doesn't fit all. Can you elaborate on that a bit for us?
Yeah, David, this is where partnership begins with the customer, and key to this is collaboration, both with our internal resources and external resources with the customer. So we work closely with the customer and our applications engineers to develop solutions. We develop our flow charts, our math models of the proposed solutions, so the solution closely matches what the customer needs for now and in the future. So we're trying to meet the customer goals and mitigate risks. We want to ensure that our solution meets the design rates and achieves optimal performance, meaning, from a material handling, operational performance, safety, customer demand, and financial goals. So, to do that, we get involved early on in the project. We see the customer data. We send engineers out to existing operations to their floor to work with their engineers and operational folks. And we truly understand the business requirements for the solution early on in the project so we can develop that best solution. So in collaboration with the customer, we understand that truly one size does not fit all, and we need to tailor a solution to meet their requirements.
Thank you, Chris. And Jeff, as we think about, the fact that automation is only part of the solution, can you share some thoughts around that, about what makes up the entire solution here?
Sure. Yeah. We obviously automation is what that's our business, right? But the reality is that the buildings that are automated still require people, and they still require processes. So you can't just automate and assume it's going to solve all your problems. You also need to make sure you have the right people to run the systems, right people to maintain the systems, and the right processes in place to ensure that you're getting the value out of the systems and using them appropriately. So that's why it's not, we like to say it's not just the automation. It's also there's a team behind it and there's processes behind it.
Thank you, Jeff. And then Chris, I know you were going to elaborate a little bit on the operational efficiency and flexibility, things that come to mind when we talk about deploying these types of solutions for us.
Yeah, so we get into the details with our applications engineers, making sure the ergonomics are designed correctly, and the flow is smooth, because in the end we know that we have to be operationally efficient, and we have to get a return on investment for our customers. To do that, we need to make sure we apply the right technology to gain the most efficiency, as well as flexibility, because flexibility, we know day to day the operation has challenges, and we don't always see the average, right? We see changes in customer demand, we see peaks and valleys, and we have to design our automation and overall flow to match up with the day-to-day variations. So we see those different types of order profiles, customer configurations, and we have to be very flexible, but at the same time scalable, such that we know 10 years out that many things are going to change that we can't predict today. And so we design our solutions with a master plan, the equipment laid out in such a way that we can truly grow the business in the future to meet what we think the future needs will be based on growth expectations. And lastly, autonomous. These solutions with the automation and software flexibility, we can drive autonomy into the overall solution and get the future benefits to reduce all those labor costs in the future.
Thank you, Chris. That makes sense. And then Jaime, as we think about driving long-term production through stability and reliability, can you expand on that a bit for us?
Yeah, so essentially when we're picking our site, when we're designing it with you and we're tailoring it to your needs, we're ensuring that we're designing a solution that's stable and reliable. And when we do that, that means we have a strong foundation and a long-term site that's adaptable to changes over time. And if it's adaptable and it can maintain its production throughput, then that gets the most units out the door and the most return of investment for your customer.
Thank you, Jaime. And then Jason, as we think about cost savings and we're thinking about return on investment for these types of projects, it's not just tangible cost savings, right? There's also other things that come into play as far as safety, quality, accuracy. Maybe if you don't mind, share a little bit more about that as well.
Right. So as we're putting in these automated systems, yes, we are decreasing the number of operators that it takes to run a system, to run an operation. But what we're doing is we're putting these operators that are working into a more ergonomic position. So there's less risk of injury. There's less fork truck traffic running through the facility. So there's less risk of operators, running into your manual racking. We're increasing the amount of automation. So we're decreasing the amount of operator choice. So there's less risk of operators picking a wrong product, making a wrong order. And so we're increasing the quality of the orders that you're sending through to your own customers. And we're also increasing the accuracy with which we can fulfill our orders.
Yeah, that makes sense, Jason. And that, because of the automation and the kind of the scanners, et cetera, that are built into these types of solutions, you get in you basically get in a quality control check and an extra level of effort there as well. So appreciate that feedback. Some of the other that basically concludes what we've put together to discuss today. Encourage everyone, if you have any questions, to go to the Q&A section here and just post a question. Quite often we do get a question about, when we compare conventional type solutions to highly automated solutions, what does the maintenance look like for these types of highly automated solutions? And that's something else, another service that Daifuku is able to bring to the table is we're able to work with your team to make sure that when you highly automate it, that we are able to see a good vertical startup by training either your existing maintenance teams to be able to support these types of solutions, as well as provide some direction, some guidance with your engineering teams and operations teams so that they can maximize the productivity of these solutions. The other option that we do offer is we're able to provide a resident maintenance program for you. So we have our own teams that can be on site and support these systems, as well as aid in the operation of them. So just wanted to share that information with you as well. And I'll just open up to see if there's any other questions that have been posted, team. I'm not able to see it, but if there's any other questions, please just make me aware. If not, I know we're running over a little bit here. So what we'll do is just offer up that if you do have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to us via the email that's posted here. Also, again, just want to thank you for participating and let you know that we will be sharing the recording of the webinar so that you can take a closer look at it a little bit later at your convenience. So thanks everyone for joining, and team, I appreciate you participating.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you all.
everyone.